All right, you guys, I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Let's Talk with Ro. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Enough is Enough. We're going to be discussing domestic topics and how and why women stay in domestic situations and what they can do to not waste so much time getting out of them and to stay as safe as possible. And tonight, we want to welcome you. Thank you so much for coming on. Tonight, our guest is Sandra Wilkes, a very good friend of mine. Yep, she is from the area and she is a wife. And tonight, she is going to let us know some tips on how we can handle this domestic situation because right now it's running rampant in our area. I mean, you guys, I'm hearing so many conversations in the hair salons about domestic situations. And I know you can relate. You've been there and you have done that, you know. And she is married, fellas, before y'all start inboxing. Hey, Vic, thanks for stopping through. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Well, you guys know I don't waste any time jumping right on in. Now, Sandra, you have had experience in your past with domestic situations, and I appreciate you coming on and being transparent about it because a lot of women are embarrassed to talk about their past with domestic situations. And I know that you noted that you had more than one domestic situation. Yes. So let's start off with your first domestic situations, with you giving us the big hitters, the big facts. The first guy was your oldest daughter's father, correct? Tell us a little bit about that situation. Well, the first abuser was my oldest daughter's Make sure you speak up. Father, and we lived together, common law, for 11 years. And he just abused every day. When you initially met him, we're gonna call him John, just for the whatever. But when you first met him, did you ever think that he was gonna be the type that was abusive? No. Okay, so how did you guys meet? Just give me a little bit about that. In high school. So you in high school, you meet him, he's nice, and make sure you speak up and in the camera when you can, because I want to make sure they're not struggling to hear you. Okay. And you guys, if you guys have difficulties hearing, let me know. You see how I'm yelling at the camera? Okay. Yep, because they want to hear you. Okay. So you meet him in high school, and what was the first situation you had that turned into physical violence? When we went somewhere and another guy looked at me, and mind you, we in high school, so people gonna look, and that was it. It started from there. Okay, now how did the initial situation happen? Did it start off as him pushing you, or did it start off as him hitting you? He punched me in my face with a closed fist. Oh, okay. Yeah. So when he punched you in your face with the closed fist, what was your response? Why'd you do that? You asked him why, so you didn't hit him back? No. Mm-mm. Okay. No. Were you afraid of him? Yeah, because if I had hit him back, I knew I would have got more. Okay. So you stayed with him after that? Oh, yeah, 11 years. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So you guys stayed together for 11 years after he punches you in the face. Now, I try to understand if somebody punches you in your face and you stay with them, you ask yourself, like looking back, what was your reason for staying? Well, it was several reasons. One reason, I always thought that I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I wanted to get out of my house to be grown, so I think, and I went with him. And I knew he had opportunities for me to get everything I wanted. So I accepted the abuse all those years because I had everything, materialistic things. I got you. And so your second domestic situation, well, lastly, how did that first one come to an end? After years of it, then I had two children. My daughter's his, but the other one wasn't. So did they see it? My daughter did, yes. So she was exposed to it. She was exposed to it. Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Yeah. We're gonna dig into that more about the effects of that. So you stay with him, you meet him in high school, you know, you finally leave after 11 years. How did you leave? Met somebody else and ran right from that to that. Okay. From the pot to the frying pan. Oh my gosh. So when you got into make sure you keep your voice up. Okay. Yeah. So when you went into the second domestic situation, was that the second? This guy you ran to? Was he the second domestic situation? He was not domestic so much. He was controlling, but it's still the same thing.
I
Okay.
knew if I stepped out the box, what would happen.
So how did you meet him?
Where did I meet him? At a job. When I first got this job years ago, and he was the engineer there. I saw money and I went with it, not
Oh,
knowing that he was like that. He didn't show me that side until we got married.
okay. Hey, Sister Key, we see you. Okay, so you said something big just now, sis. You said you saw money.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So we're gonna tap on that. So would you say that you attracted to men with money? Okay. Cause you know all women are not.
Yeah.
Like now we live in a society where that's not the case.
Hmm.
You know, some women don't care about a man
Yeah.
having money. Okay, so you see money in both of these guys and you're attracted. Now with the second guy, I'm sure that when you started talking to him, you didn't think that he was gonna have a domestic, be controlling rather.
No.
So you meet him, and what was kind of like the signs when you started realizing he was becoming controlling?
When after we got married, and I already had the two other kids, so he took. We got together, got a house and everything, and then I saw as I was trying to step out and do things, financially for myself and businesses, he was jealous.
That reminds me of Ti and Tiny.
Hmm.
I noticed that on that show. I don't know if you guys watched the Ti and Tiny show, but I watched when Tiny wanted to start stepping out and she wanted to start doing things with the, reunions, with escaping things like that. Ti wasn't for that.
Mm-mm.
Why do you think he didn't want you to like step out and do your own thing?
He was jealous because he knew what I was capable of doing and what I had already done before I got with him. I graduated from high school, college, so other things. I was an interior designer. He was jealous. One time he took all my diplomas and stuff, put them in the sink and burned them up.
Okay. And now you guys chime in because you guys are in the look, y'all on the couch with us. So my thing is why I dated guys that I felt like were jealous too. And you think in your mind that only women can be jealous
Mm-mm.
of a woman, but it's guys get jealous in a different way. I think guys are not jealous, but they get jealous of your looks too.
Yeah,
But I think that he might have been jealous of your success
that's what it was.
and the threat of it. A lot of times, I think in relationships, when women start to do their own thing and it's not a need, I think controlling guys, I think that they like you depending on them for money and things like
Hmm.
that. Right? And why do you think that is?
But with that situation, I had a job. I was an accountant. So it wasn't like, but I didn't have to use my money. I fed off of his because I
Right.
was brought up like that. My mother didn't work, my father worked. So that's what was in my head. Oh, I'm going to work, but you going to do.
Right.
And I took all the abuse and all the stuff that came with it because I wanted to have the cars and the house and all of that stuff. I wanted that material stuff. I knew it was wrong what both of them were doing, but if it took me to do that, to go through that to get what I got, I I accepted it.
And a lot of women that are in domestic situations, like a lot of women that are in situations, you might not be necessarily being beaten physically or
Hmm.
just being controlled. It has to be a reason that women stay for that. You know what I mean? You're
Hmm.
getting something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I I get a lot of women that say, not a lot, but I've heard women say that they were afraid to leave because they didn't get the necessary help from police. Do you believe that?
Well, that was true because police was called in my situation a couple of times. They used to come to the door and tell you you got 5 minutes to get whatever. I would get whatever, but then the next day I was right back because
Right.
I felt in my head that I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't want nobody to know. I wanted everybody to know. So if I got beat up too bad, I would just stay in the apartment for a week or two. My mother would be like, "When you coming over here?" But I knew I couldn't because I didn't want her to see what was going on.
Yeah, so how did that make you feel? Like with the controlling situation, like if your friend, were you allowed to have friends at all?
Yeah, I had friends. Yeah.
So how did that look? Like if your friends was going out for a ladies' night and you wanted to go, how did that work? Or did you? I mean, how did you spend
I was
time?
allowed to do certain things, but I knew once I get out that box, put it like this with the controlling person, I knew what to do and when to do it. So it wasn't like he kept me locked up in a room. He never put his hands on me, but I just knew that threat was there. I was never comfortable with him.
Right. And something that always boggles me, I'm telling you, I haven't been in that situation. So help me to understand what it's like to go into a place. You at work every day and then you go home and you know that he is about to beat on you. I'm talking about, I talked with a young lady not too long ago, and I mean, this guy was sitting over her, holding her down, beating her. And she felt like there was no need to call the police because they didn't do anything before, and she has children and she didn't have anywhere to go. Like you said,
Yeah.
what is the option if it's somebody watching right now that's in a home with a man that is beating the brakes off of them, and they have kids and they know they don't want to be a burden on anybody? Where is the help? What would they do?
It's none because you get a protective order or peace order. But I've known personal people that I know or knew, keyword knew, the guy would come back and beat her with the peace order
Oh
and
my
kill,
God. I took a domestic violence class at UMGC, and in that class, do you know that they said when women are in domestic situations, the people that think they are lying first are their own family.
Well, yeah, because the man, the abuser, has already set up this picture. Oh, how you doing? Da da da. When he's around the family, you live in a certain way. So they didn't believe me. That's why I never told my mother because I didn't think she would believe me because she saw him as one thing. So she said, "Oh, you got this, that, and that. He ain't doing that to you. He would
Well, what
never do
happens when
that."
you walk in and your eyes black?
Well, I never showed that, so I can't really blame my mother because I never let her see how I was looking.
Do you think that some women are attracted to this kind of situation? Like it makes them feel love to be getting beat up?
Well, I'm sure it is some. I knew I wasn't loved, but like I said, I was stayed because what I was getting, the material stuff.
I wondered, some women to me seem like because it's like him showing attention or a man being controlling, it's like him showing that they care about them. And it kind of normally starts off like letting you know what you should wear.
Yeah.
Little things like that. Like, I don't want you wearing them jeans. Then I tell you don't wear them jeans.
Yeah.
Or, I don't like your hair like that. And I think a lot of women think that's cute. I've heard women in the salon. I have had, ooh, y'all, I have had women in the salon. I remember a situation where the young lady was getting her hair done, right? And y'all, this is a true story. I did this woman's hair. She got a weave done, and her hair looked really good. Everybody in the shop was talking about it. She left out. Her guy was waiting for her outside in the car. Do y'all know she called me the next day and said that he didn't like her hair? And this is what caught me though. She loved her hair when she left the salon. When he said that he didn't like it, oh, it threw everything off.
Oh, yeah.
It threw everything off. I mean, she didn't like it anymore because, like, her liking it was based on him liking it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a big form of control right there because naturally we see sometimes men don't want women looking good because they know other people gonna look at them. And I see so many women that have, I mean, that kind of issue. If he doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. It's just, that's just too much.
And see,
That's
with my first abuser, we would be in a traffic light. He driving, I'm sitting on the passenger side. You know, when you pull up to a light, you automatically kind of look. Guy just happened to be driving. I look, the guy looked, boom, right in my face. Even the guy was sitting there like, what the? But we kept going after the light turned. I just fixed my face. Rubbed my face.
I mean, I just can't understand how can you just sit there and somebody hit you in your face?
I know.
If a man hit me in my face, I can't even imagine how we gonna be rumbling up in there. I mean, it's like a reflex.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, and it's not judgment pass, but I'm really trying to understand because there's many other women that go through that situation that a man hits them and they just shut down.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think was going on inside of you? What do you think the root of you allowing somebody to physically hit you?
Because back then, like I said earlier, I felt like that's what I felt like then that I had nowhere to go. Even though I did, but I felt like it.
Okay, thank you guys for the questions. Victor said, after your traumatic experiences, what was your healing process? Like, did you have to seek therapy? So when you know you are happily married now,
Mhm.
right? And you know we know that that's all gravy right there.
Mhm.
You know, I know I met your husband. He
Mhm.
seems to be a nice guy, whatever, whatever. But with your healing process, how did you prepare to be in a healthy situation? What do you think changed about you to make you select a different kind of man?
It wasn't from therapy because Victor, I never got therapy.
You never went to therapy?
Not for that, no.
Are you serious?
No, I just went on to the next one. And then when I was with the husband of 18 years, the controller, that's when I met Cato. And it took a while because poor Cato would raise his hand and scratch his head, and I'm jumping. And he'd be like, "What you doing?" So I went through that kind of stuff. But I never got no therapy, never talked about it, and that was
Hold on,
it.
I gotta cut it. So today, looking back, do you think that therapy was needed or would have made your process better?
It may would have.
Like now, today, would your advice for a woman to be to seek therapy?
With therapy, yeah.
You know what I
Find
mean?
yourself.
Okay.
Don't be like I was, wanting a man for what he could do, and I took everything that came along with it, all the negative.
So you think your love for material things?
That's what it was.
Wow.
I didn't love them. I loved what they could do.
So you just didn't care. You like long as I'm driving what I'm driving.
Uh-huh. Had a house.
I
Kids
mean,
had
was
everything.
these big houses and Ferraris?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
you know me.
yeah, so you living good. It's not
Yeah.
because I see some women that's getting beat down. That I mean, they paying the bills and
Yeah.
getting beat.
But the funny thing, I must have changed, or God changed. Well, I know He did, because when I met Cato, when I say his name, I was still with the 18-year husband. Cato didn't have a job. Cato didn't have a pot to pen. But I loved Cato. I was in love with Cato. So I changed. My girlfriend said, "You going through a midlife crisis. You don't mess with nobody that can't do nothing for you." And she said, "What's about him?" I said, "It's just something about him."
Wow. Okay, thank you, Khadijah. That's my best friend. Shout out to my best friend Dee Dee. She said going into your second domestic mental situation, rather,
Mhm.
was it that he was controlling mentally abusive, or was it that you just weren't healed from the first situation?
He was controlling mentally because he knew me and my mother's relationship because I was adopted. He knew I didn't have no brothers or sisters as of then that I knew about. So he knew who was I gonna call if he was hitting on me. He knew I ain't had nowhere to go. So people do you like that when they know. He used to sit me and my son outside on the porch in the cold. And then when he was ready for us to come in, he opened the door.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Somebody, y'all, with this domestic situation, it's bigger than just
Oh,
the
yeah.
woman and the man. When you have children,
Mm-hmm.
what makes a woman leave her child? Did you ever, okay, this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever leave the kids with the guy that was physically abusive to you? If he's beating you up, did you ever leave him alone with the children?
What you mean, during the day or just
At all?
Well,
Did you trust him with the kids?
well, not my two. We had twins together. So yeah, I left them with him. But if I left, I always took the other two. But by then, my daughter, she was grown, so she was already kind of gone. But it was my son. He had to experience it because he didn't like him because he was athletic and okay, but our twins were disabled. So he had to look at my son do everything that our two couldn't do. And I think that was a big part because he used to abuse my son too.
That's what I was
But
just.
I didn't know that. It didn't come out till later.
And this is what I'm saying, y'all. You got, you have this man that's beating on you physically, and then you leave the kids with him. We already see his character, and she said that it didn't even come out until years later that he was abusing their son.
Yeah.
So I mean, today I think it's even worse in today's society because we have women, y'all. These women know that this man is beating on them. Know he is not all here. You know he ain't all rap type. Leave the kids with him, and then he kills the kids. And when the mug shot come on Channel 5, he looking like Goonie Goo.
Yeah.
You already. I'm looking. It's not. It's not even like it's a surprise.
I know.
Yep, you know what I'm saying? We want to give a
No, they looking like, what did I do?
yeah, we want to give a shout out to Anton. That's like my number one fan. I mean, he is
Mm.
always on these shows. Oh my goodness. And he is in the comments and he's like, I knew it. Cause you know, he always sends me things. And to be honest, I gotta give credit to him about that situation with you know, kids being left
Yeah.
with the abusers. If ladies, if a man will beat you down and he can't control himself, his anger with you, the odds are that he can't control his anger with these kids.
Yeah.
I know women that are married, you know what I'm saying? And these are their children together, their biological children. And the women have had to call the police on the husband because his anger got out of control. Yeah. With the child. And you know what? I commend those women that act like that because it's very few. Most women gonna be like, if he's sitting there, okay, you cooking dinner. This is a scenario. You cooking dinner, and all of a sudden he tired of the baby crying, and he busts out and say something like, "Shut up, be quiet," and you talking to a 2 year old like that. Right then and there, as a mother, you should be stepping up in there. And if you in a situation where you too scared to correct him on that, what do we have?
But
What you?
he wasn't like that.
So tell me more about that.
He
What
just treated my son, because like I said, my daughter, she was already out the door, you know, grown. But my middle son, he was still there. So he treated him differently, but not in front of me. That's why it just came out like maybe 2 or 3 years ago that he was abusing him both ways.
What?
Yeah. But I didn't know because when I would come home from wherever, my son was in the room.
He was abusing him sexually and physically?
Yes. And that didn't come out to like 2 or 3 years later.
Oh no.
Yeah. And
oh
then my daughter said it too. That he was touching her. And she said, you didn't do nothing about it. Well, I can't do anything about something that I didn't know about. So I never said you lying.
Lord.
This was years after I had left him, you know. Now all of it's coming out what he was doing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So what's your advice what do you say to women that are being physically abused or just going through mental abuse with a man? What is your advice to them about the way they handle the kids in the household?
Don't be like me, sit there because you got the house and the kids and you've been with him 10 plus years. Don't do that. Get the kids and get out. It's somebody that will take you in. It's places back then, like I said, I don't think it was too many places that women could go to. Like you said, you call the police, they come for 5 minutes. Did you get all your stuff? You gotta go. And then they leave. They'll leave you actually there with the person.
So, and the thing with her situation is there were not any signs that he was like mistreating the children. So the sign is if he's mistreating you,
Yeah.
then he will do it to the kids.
Especially if they're not his kids, I think.
And thank you for your question, Sister Stephanie. Stephanie said, do you think that your children were afraid of him? Do you think they were scared to say something to you?
They probably were. They had to be. You wait till you get double grown and now it's just coming out.
Do you think that they thought you knew?
Well, yeah, because my daughter did say.
You see, and this is how things come out on Dr. Phil 20 years later, and the kids come on there and they're saying, Mom, you let this happen to me. Because sometimes in the kids' eyes, you know, they may not say anything we learning from this situation, but that didn't mean they don't think that you don't know. Because kids expect their mother to protect them. Yeah. You expecting that. So, you know, what's your advice about that? Should women talk to their kids? Like, if you, this is so, y'all, this one right here, this subject bothers me.
It's deep.
It's deep because children are involved. You know, outside of you, women, ladies, if you are staying in your situation, you know, and you decide that's what you want to do for your life, it is really sad when the kids have to end up being sexually abused or physically abused in the dark about this. So, you know, how do women handle that? Like, how do you do that? Do you check in with your kids?
You can do that, but you hope that they tell you.
So
She accuses me of knowing. Why would I? Why would I not protect you if I knew that? You said you were 9 years old. You're now 43. How was I supposed to know that?
oh God. And the thing is, it's just no way of getting around this.
No.
If you are in an abusive situation, if you are with a man that is beating you or controlling you or is immoral, the best situation is for you to leave. That's just the bottom line. Because here, especially when children are involved, because what we're saying here is we don't know if the kids are saying something or not.
Yeah.
So it's not even it's no safety zone there. You can't check in with your kids and ask them, but you don't know.
Because they're going to see the house and everything they have too, and they be like, "Well, we don't have nowhere to go, so I'm not gonna say nothing." I like him because
So
they did have a relationship that I thought was good.
okay, this is good, Vic. Now that was a boss move right there. Victor just put, and you guys check into those comments. Victor is a powerhouse in our community when it comes to the kids. You gotta check him out. Check Victor Terry's page out. But as far as resources and things like that, but he put signs in the group in the chat rather and said what you would look for in a child if they are in an abusive situation. And that was good right
Yeah.
there. You know, I watched something. It was a case on Netflix about a child that was being abused. And they said that the police went to that child's house because teachers were saying that they saw these signs, Victor. And when the police would go to these this particular home, the teachers were saying, I know something is going on with this child. The police would go there and they would not even do a walkthrough. And they went multiple times. And do you know that child ended up being killed and tortured? So Vic, you are absolutely right. You can look for the signs and things like that. Oh, Stephanie, that was good. Stephanie said women need to have a plan. Put a plan in place before you leave.
Yeah.
Because if you just try to up and roll and you don't have your ducks lined up, you don't have nowhere to go.
But my plan was with the second one, I called the police and they came and locked him up, and that gave me opportunity to move. Okay.
Yep. I see Shayna online. Hey, sis. That's all right there. That's big sis right there. And thank you for your comment. Sheena is saying she agrees you need to leave because kids are probably just as scared as their mom. And I mean, that does make sense. I mean, sometimes I think women don't really think about what the kids are feeling. They can get kind of, is it, what you think about it? You think when you were in your situation, when you fighting and stuff like that, what were you thinking in your mind about the, like, was it, tell me about a situation when the kids were in the same room while you was getting physically attacked?
Well, with the first one, my daughter's father, I left him when she was 7. So she's seen it.
Do you recall any situations?
All of them.
Well, give me the worst one you can recall. I want to know detail for detail. What happened? What do you remember him doing to you? And what do you remember seeing your child looking like?
One day, he came home early, but me and her were in the washroom because we had an apartment then. And the neighbor happened to be a guy, and he was washing. So when he came in, you could see the washroom, and he saw me and the guy and my daughter. Grabbed hair, dragged me up the steps.
Daughter right there.
Yeah.
So what was
So all I could do was just reach out and tell her to, to come with me.
Okay, and what happens? Is she saying anything?
No.
So she's watching
I
you
think she
get.
was 6 years old, so no. All she knew was her daddy, and I look up to him. She didn't. If she did, she didn't say anything.
Was this normal for her to see?
Oh yeah.
So when you guys go upstairs into the apartment, does she watch you getting beat, fearing for you, or I mean, what happens?
He told her to go in the room. Her room was first. She went in the room like he told her to. He shut the door, locked it, and then I threw me back in our room, and that was it. Then he went out.
Was there ever times when your kids actually saw him hitting you? Like, did they ever see him connect punches and hits on you?
No. If there was, I don't remember. And my son, he wasn't here yet.
And
so
see, that's
no.
a key part right there. If there was,
if there was, they didn't say. I mean, she didn't say.
yeah, if there was, I don't remember. It's hard for me to believe that your kids are living in this situation for over a decade and they never saw you get hit. I
And
mean,
with the second one, like I said, by the time I met with him, my son was like 15 and she's 40, older. So she was on her way out the door, but they never saw arguing and fussing because we didn't. Because I knew not to. It wasn't no need to fuss because if you're doing everything a person that you know you're supposed to do, you ain't gonna have no argument. So they saw the perfect life.
Well, this is a question I have, and Vic, thank you for all the information that you putting on, because I'm about to touch on that. We're gonna talk about how you feel like this affected your children now in their adult lives, but with that, with all of this situation, do you ever feel guilty about how your kids say things? Like, do you deal with? I mean, like I said, there's a no judgment zone, but I really want to know how you really feel. Like when you look at this, first of all, do you see any patterns in your children that you think came from that situation? Tell me more about that.
Well, as up to my son, he's an abuser.
What?
He's 36. He was diagnosed with PTSD. And when I asked the psychologist a long time ago, I said, well, he wasn't in the service because I'm thinking that's a service thing. And they said, no, he was traumatized. So he, you know, I'm going to say running now because he don't have no respect for women. He disrespects me. Now, not in my face, but, he'll text you. But girls, he'll get the younger girls and get well from and, beat them up.
So when you hear about this, how do you learn about this? Do the women call you or things like that? Like, how does that work? How does it get back to you, or have you witnessed
Well,
this?
once he go to jail, then I know that's why he in jail.
Oh.
Yeah. None of the girls have called me and said, help me, because 2 out of 10, he done told them I'm dead. Just a long story with him.
Right.
But he has to be affected because he seen it, a little bit of it. And it's just in him, I guess. That's just what he'll do.
What's the root of why you think that he dislikes you or disrespects you?
He's the type of person, and I think it's a disease for this, that he blames me for things that he didn't do.
Do you think that it has anything to do with your lack of protection when he was a child?
It could have, but you didn't tell me that this was going on till you got 30, 32 years old. So
But-
how was I supposed to know?
But question, it's like this. You keep saying that he didn't tell me, but my question is, we talking about kids. So do you think that your kids were wrong for not telling you and they should be held accountable? Or do you think that they did the best they could do? Like, what's your viewpoint on that?
I want to say I think they did the best they could do because to me, we know kids, if you look up to a person, because he looked up to my second one, that wasn't his father. He would do football real good. He would say his name. Did I do good? And he would, no, you could have did better. He would never give him his props because he was jealous of him. So, but I still didn't think he was doing that to him because it's not like I left and just left him there. So I don't know when this went on, but I never tell him that didn't happen. You lying, and I didn't tell her that.
Yeah, so ladies, I hope, you taking this information seriously, because just because he's treating that child right in your face, if this dude got anger issues with you and he's disrespecting you and things like that, don't take it lightly, because she said that this dude was sexually abusing her son and she saw no signs of it. You see, that's what we're trying to say. It was a sign. The sign is there is no limit to what a man will do. You know what I mean? We don't know what he's going to do.
And my son took it that way. He's doing it, abusing girls or women. And my daughter, of course, went the opposite way, and she's letting people abuse her. And you've seen it. Your father did it. He has charges from other people till this day for doing it. But you cling to him, and you saw what he did to me. And then you're allowing another person, your boyfriend, to do it to you. And when I sit you down years ago, and we had a little intervention, whatever you call it, and I said, Izzy, and she said, no. But I know the signs. She looked me dead in my face and said, no. And I said, okay.
So even in adulthood, she didn't feel comfortable with telling you.
Nope.
So, in childhood, maybe that's a pattern of some kind.
Probably.
I didn't tell you when I was. I just wonder, like, do you think, what was your relationship like with your kids? Like when they were younger? Like, were you the type of nurturing mother? Like, come on, you can tell me anything? Or do you think because of your relationships with them, you were distant? What did it look like with you and your kids?
Well, I thought that I was motherly, but obviously I wasn't because she told me about the situation with my ex on Facebook. It was domestic violence month, and I said I was a survivor, and she said, "You wasn't surviving when your ex-husband was touching me at 9 years old." So I'm
Stop.
reading it, and I was like, "What?"
That's how it came
That's
out.
how it came out. You chose a platform to put me out, and you said you ain't saying nothing about being a domestic, you know. But see, I touched on her father. She knew who I was talking about. So you figure you throw about my ex. At least she did say ex. She didn't say the current one. And I was like, oh. And the stuff has came out about the current one. She just on a rampage.
Okay,
And I'm
so
like,
do you
okay.
now this is my question. Do you think that she's wrong for that?
Well, yeah, you are. You're a grown woman. You're in your 40s. Why would you put that on there? So what I said I was domestic. You haven't talked to me in 6 years. So why would you pick that platform when I'm saying I'm a domestic survivor and you go put that out there? You made yourself look crazy.
But you know what I'm noticing, sis? What I'm noticing is, and I'm like I said, it's no judgment zone.
Mhm.
We here to just like really look at patterns and try to help people that may be saying the same things. I'm noticing that do any of your kids like you and have a good relationship with you?
Mm-mm. No, not
That
those two.
okay.
Now I have two 34-year-old twins. They're disabled. So they're on a, like a baby level. So they like me, I guess. But I ain't gonna tell you when the last time I seen them because their father, we have joint custody. So that's another whole show. But the two that are able and willing, and I had one that's deceased, she would have been 47.
I'm
I
sorry.
had to give her up because I had her at 14, 13, 14. We got to know each other like a year before she died. She was taking care of twins at the, doing different stuff. And then I eventually found out she was my daughter. So she liked me. But the other two,
So the two that were actually in your life and a
they,
part of your
now they
life.
just don't like me. We haven't
So
talked in 6 years.
so was it ever a point like okay, so in their high school or early 20 years and things like that, did y'all ever have a good relationship?
Well, me and my daughter, I thought we did. She started going to the church, COH first. And then I said, where you going every Sunday? And then I went, we were tight. You see us sitting there every Sunday. But then after she stopped speaking to me, that was it.
Do you think that the root of this could be unresolved issues?
Well, probably. But to me, she's the type, if I tell her, such and such road boyfriend hit her, she'll be right at your door. But you wouldn't do it for yourself. And I thought that she could feel like telling me stuff. Maybe she thought that she couldn't because of how I was.
I'm so sorry, guys. I have missed all of these comments, so we're gonna go to the audience for a second. Sheena is really tuned in tonight. She said, with kids that witness abuse, they're highly likely, like your son, to go on and abuse and
Yeah.
things like that. But Sheena was saying, what made you stay? And Sheena, you might have missed that portion of the show, but we'll let them hear from you again. What made you stay?
The material things that I was provided, I didn't have to do anything. I was taken care of.
It was the lifestyle.
It was a lifestyle.
Yep.
And I thought that I didn't have anywhere to go. I thought if I called my mother and said, can I come back home? She would have said no. And at the end, she said, oh, you could have came. But I didn't know that. And if you got something in your mind, you say, I don't have nowhere to go. Then that's what you're not going to let her know that.
Got it.
I didn't want to go back home.
Got it. And Sister Alyssa, I see you jumped in and you said he's the child. Give me a little bit of feedback on that because I missed your comment. And I just want to make sure I'm thinking. I think I know where you said that, but I just want specifics on that. So right now, this is kind of we looking at domestic situations with women, but a lot of times, ladies, you see, I believe that your relationship with your children probably has a lot to do with those domestic situations.
True.
I mean, seriously, like, have you ever had an opportunity to sit, and it's just questions. Have you ever had an opportunity to sit down with your kids and say, I'm sorry that I didn't realize what was going on? Has that ever been a conversation?
Well, and if she didn't block me and not deal, I would have.
Why? So the answer to that question is no.
No. You
Wow.
can't have a communication with somebody that won't allow you to say what you gotta say.
Yeah, do you ever look back? I mean, was it worth it? Was it worth staying for the cars and the money and things like that? Do you ever regret that, or do you feel like that was just where I was in life?
Okay, I got two answers. No, I don't regret it because it wouldn't make me the woman I am today. but I do regret it because how it affected my two children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's a lot on your plate. I know. Don't cry. Oh my God. Well, I guess I can't say don't cry.
Yeah.
If you gonna cry, I'm saying don't cry because I don't want
Yeah.
to cry.
Because I feel like if I didn't go through all of that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, and let's say this though. This is not about pointing a finger at you.
Mhm.
The point of this show is to ask you questions to know how you feel because it's other women that have feeling and
Yeah.
have done and been through what you've
Yeah.
been through.
And
Because
I don't want.
you're not the only woman that stayed
Yeah.
for material
He's
things. That's
still
who
there.
you were.
Yeah.
That's who you were at that time. You
And
know
for
what I mean?
years, I blamed them. But at this point, 62 years, well, 40 some years later, because I'll be 62 next week, I finally realized I don't blame them too, the abusers, because I allowed them to do it. They weren't beating me; they were beating themselves. I was just there because obviously they weren't happy with themselves. Because when I left the first one, now he on drugs and out there, ain't never owned nothing. So you would think I was the breadwinner because you went to nothing. The second one, the same thing.
Yeah. And somebody asked, have you sought out counseling? And we kind of cut on that earlier too.
Well, now, yeah,
Yeah.
for everything. I've been going for like the last 2 years.
Yeah. Do you feel like the counseling has helped lift some of that weight off of you? Honestly, like we here to tell the real.
Nope.
Yep. And
Because all I'm doing is talking to somebody sitting over there, a woman, just like I could call you.
yep.
She ain't giving me no advice, but she did help a lot. She is helping because if I'm getting ready to get angry or do something, she'll, stop me. Well, why are you doing that? But I could get anybody to do that. So, but it's okay. It's helping. But I still got a lot. You're talking about 62 years worth of stuff. You got to think I was adopted at 2 days old. So I got that rejection thing. And that's the reason why I stayed too, because I look at it like if my biological mother didn't want me, who else is? So if the man put his hands on me, oh yeah, he liked me.
He loved me
he
enough.
loved me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting all this, and he hitting me. But I knew. I'm not stupid. I knew it was wrong. But
Yeah.
like I said, I wanted all this. Now, when I met the one now, we be married 21 years on the 13th of September. He was broken as a joke. Didn't have a car, cell phone, nothing. But I was in love with him just because of him. So I finally woke up and said, "Oh, he don't have nothing to offer. I like that." And I got peace. I can be Sandra around him.
You know, the show has really shifted. You know, the discussion about domestic violence has been very, very interesting. But you know, even I didn't expect us to get as deep as we are going. It's like it's taking its own lane. And your relationship with your children is starting to be very alarming here.
Yeah.
It's like, and the viewers are definitely asking questions. And you know, I believe that I have seen things like this, and I have seen people repair relationships with their children. And do you think, when you think about your children and you look at the way you guys are now, I know it hurts you because it made you cry. So that's no question. But do you still have hope that that relationship will be repaired with your son and your daughter?
Yes.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to stand with you on that because that's my hope.
Yeah. But
That's,
even with her, when I left him, the second one, she stopped talking to me. What? So I'm like, okay.
yeah, like, what is your posture now? I want, you said I ain't had no limits.
No.
You know,
You know
like,
how I am.
when so when you and your kids were around each other in adulthood, you know, do you feel like y'all had the kind of relationship where you all talked about deep things?
No.
Or was it kind of always surface?
It was surface. She was real private. If you ask her something, I talk to you, girl, when the last time whatever. Mother, we different, born the same day, but we night and day. I'm all transparent and she's real quiet. So yeah, we had a relationship. We go out for our birthdays and you saw us in church and different things. I thought we were tight to a certain limit. But then me and my son, he's a user, so we, love him to death, but he just got the mental issues. I tried to get him committed last year. He beat us home from the place they took him to. He got to want the help when he wanted.
Let me get you right here. You just said that your son was a user, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that he picked that up from you genetically, or do you think that he might have picked that up like his love for material things, or just being able to deal with people for what he can get?
He ain't getting nothing.
I
He don't
got
care
you.
about himself. You don't drive, you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you don't have anything but a cell phone.
I got
I had stuff for myself. I could live in a homeless shelter. It's gonna be nice. That's just how I am. So
I get
I
it.
didn't use the guys for everything. I worked, but I knew I didn't have to. Had nice houses and everything, but I know that's what it was. And the most of it was I wanted to be out of my house because my mother, I was adopted, but we had an okay relationship. And I always said I wanted to have a different one with my daughter. And I thought I did, but for the last going on 7 years, she don't talk to me. If I see her at a family thing, and I'll go up to her, I'm sorry, okay, okay, just to get me to go sit down.
What do you think caused y'all? I mean, because if you guys were at least going out and at least touching bases and things like that, what do you think caused us? Like, what do you think caused y'all to not talk at all?
Because it was been about 5, 6 years now. I had a stroke in church. Many one. They took me to the hospital. She went. They had to make her go. And the next day she came to see me, and I was fumbling through my purse, because I'm trying to get myself situated to stay there for the week. Because I have lupus and MS, so the stroke was major. And what are you doing? She don't have patience. So I said, I'm in my purse. And she said, oh. And then she kept on nagging me. And I said, bitch, you know. And she said, what you say? And I said it again. And then she left. And that was it. And I've been apologizing for 6 years of calling you that word. And obviously it wasn't that though. My therapist, it ain't wasn't that's just that. It wasn't that's that word. It wasn't me. She ain't mad at me because you were still with an abusive boyfriend, and now I heard you got a new one that's doing the same thing. So it wasn't me. You just decided to put me on the list, but yet you cling to your father that's an abuser. He not only abused me, you look on case search, whoop, it's 4 or 5 pages.
All right, so now we gotta get into this. So with the okay, so y'all got angry at each other for whatever reason, and you called her a bitch.
I didn't get angry. I was just playing. I said,
Oh,
bitch.
you was
I was
joking.
joking.
Okay, so that's important. So some women play like that. So you just playing with her, and
Yeah.
you hit the little word, and she exploded.
No, she didn't. She just left. And my girlfriend said, well, what happened? Because she was doing her phone. And I said, well, call her a bitch. So by the time she got the parking lot, I texted and said, come back. I need you. I'm sorry. That was it. She got on Facebook and boom, everything.
And that was that.
And ever since then, it's been downhill. She took me to court saying I was abusive. Excuse me.
Question
Okay.
though, was her father the one that was physically
The
abusive with
first
you?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm confused.
Yeah,
So
so was she.
what is her relationship with her father?
Mm,
Are you serious?
After she stopped talking to me, then they would. But at first, you wouldn't talk to him for 4 or 5 years because he took your car to get it fixed and never bought it back. Actually, stole your car.
Okay, so
And my new husband was they were buddies. So now, since you stopped dealing with me, now you clinging to him,
this is just all
the
like
abuser.
it's just so crazy
It's
to
a
me.
book. I mean, it's a movie. It's.
Oh my God. And you guys, what the focus is tonight is the domestic violence, abuse. And a lot of times when you're in things, you really don't consider what it's doing to your
Yeah.
kids, and everybody that's watching the show right now, and even I'm gonna take a minute, take a second right now to go back to your childhood, 6, 7, 8 years old, and really just look back on that and think about things that scared you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember situations I was in that made me feel paralyzed inside. We all had them. Whatever it was that made you just cringe or just feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, You don't ever think to really call out and say something. The only children that really call out to their parents and say, hey, something's wrong, is children that have been sat down and trained to do that.
Yeah.
See, we know more about that now.
Yeah. Now.
In society then,
Yeah.
it wasn't taught like that. But now, I mean, I see people sit down with your kids. Sit down with your kids, whether you in an abusive relationship or not. Because the truth is, I know homes that appear to be healthy
Mm-hmm.
where parents have been sexually abusive
Mm-hmm.
or done things to kids.
Mm-hmm.
I get that in my office all the time. So it doesn't always look like anything, but I think it's important to sit with your kids and say things to your kids like, if somebody touches you like this, or if you feel a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
come and talk to me because I want to know
Yeah.
and I'm going to do something about it. And some parents don't think about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that makes you a bad parent because you don't think about having that conversation. I'm going to be honest. It's just something that you learn. And being parents, you never get it all the way right either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have children of my own, but I have raised children.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you get things that you look back on and you don't get everything right.
Yeah. Like I said earlier when you asked me that question, why did I stay? And I said there's two answers. If I would have left, if I knew, no, I wouldn't have changed what happened because it wouldn't have made me the woman I am today. But if I knew it was going to affect them like it is now and then or whenever, I would have left. But like you don't think. You're just like, okay, move on. You see, your mother is thriving. You're thriving. You never told me that's what he did. And for you to tell me that on social media, I'm reading, I'm like, what? Why would you say that? Because I said I was domestic. Because I said, talk about your father because you knew that's who I was talking about. So that's all I got to say. We've never talked about it before or after. Then my
That is
sons
so.
came out, and I was like, he was doing what? But yet again, that came out in
Tell me,
anger.
let's talk about that. I want to talk about that. So when your son told you, Sister Alyssa, I see your comment, I'm coming to it. When your son told you that he had been physically abused, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But did that sexually abuse take you back?
Yeah, but then it took me back, but it brought me back because you said it in anger. I told you he's the type, he blames you because the sun didn't come up. He blames me because you didn't graduate. Duh, what? I'm confused. You
What?
blaming me for everything that went wrong in your life.
So when he told you though about that he had been sexually abused,
It was in a text.
right?
Yeah.
But when he told you though, like when you saw that,
Mm-hmm.
what did it make you feel like?
Less than a mother, way less.
Wow.
But then I can't say, well, why'd you say it like that? Or ask her why. Because people do think it comes out differently. I don't understand why you would say it on a platform on social media because you made yourself look crazy. You know, you put all your stuff out there. He did it in a text.
Wow, Sister Alyssa and Vic said that two people are watching that came up. We know when we asked everybody to think back to when they were a child,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they grew up in homes that had domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
in it, you know. And you guys, look, the people that are watching that grew up in homes where it was domestic and physical situations going on, throw some shout outs in the comments and let me know what your relationship with your parents are like.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Alyssa, are you I know you just lost your dad not too long ago and I'm sorry to hear that. But I would like to know what was it like? What was your situation like with your parents? And if they were the abusive one, how were you guys able to mend that? You know, Alyssa, I know your dad passed, but was he the one that was the abuser? Was your mom with another man? I just like to know something about that. And you too, Vic, how did you guys push past that? Because you know we like to provide solutions too.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys get through that? Because my hope for you is that you and your kids come together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my prayer. That's gonna be a prayer for
And
you.
that's all I can do.
That's all you can do. And you know, in these situations, it's interesting because it's like you still have to go on and live every day.
Mm-hmm. Knowing that your son is out there in the street running, I want you safe. Turn yourself in. start the process. You got stuff going on that you got to pay for. You know, do it because you're killing me. You out in the street. I don't care if you're 36. You out in the street. You got 9 kids. Do what you got to do. You did what you did, and then you got to pay for it.
Alyssa, thank you for that information. Alyssa said that God rest his soul. She said, yeah, her dad was the abuser. And Alyssa, I know when you lost your dad, she expressed so much love for him.
Mhm.
How were you all able to work through that? Did your dad ever apologize? I know you in the comments, so I don't want to have you doing too much typing. But Alyssa, how did you and your dad end up and move to a good place? You know? All right, Vic said that he was in an abusive household too.
Mhm.
And Vic, and let me say this. Vic and Alyssa are some of our major entrepreneurs in the area. Alyssa,
Yeah.
and she owns. I mean, she has been running successful hair salons for as old as I am.
Yeah.
And Vic is very successful. He came from the street,
Yeah.
and Vic turned his life around. And he is. I mean, he is on it. He is helping. He is a good father. He is rolling. But Vic said, when he harbored hatred for both of his parents for years. And he said until he got clarity into both of their upbringings, along with research about trauma. So how you were talking about, how you were put up for adoption and you had rejection issues. Have you ever had that kind of conversation with your kids? And that's what Vic was saying. Vic was saying that once he talked to his parents about what they went through as kids, it kind of made him realize that they couldn't be better than what they were. And it probably changed his view a bit and probably gave him more credit.
You do what you know.
You do what you know.
You do what you know.
And just in your journey and as you move along, on your quest with your kids, maybe that's a conversation that will help.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a conversation that would be a good one. I want to talk to you, son, or I want to talk to you, daughter. I see what y'all went through and it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
But this is what I went through.
But what you're doing now, as far as him, it ain't my fault.
Right.
You know better.
Yeah.
That's on you. But I'ma still support you. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, people grow older. Now you can't. We all
I can't keep.
like you got Vic. Now Vic went through some horrific things, but he not running around saying I couldn't become nothing successful because of what I went through. So I'm with you on that. Once we adults, healing is our situation.
I got through it.
Yeah.
I'm an overcomer. They can do it too.
Yes, they can. And like you said, they can't blame you for everything. Every time you don't go to work and you get fired from a job or you have another baby, you can't come say I did it. No, I get it. But just in correlation to the healing process, and you guys, you as a mom trying to have a better relationship with your children, I think that what Vic said was paramount. The understanding portion of things is big. Sister Lucky, I see you. Sister Lucky said that my dad abused me verbally and physically. And she said she didn't realize that her dad abused her mom until she was an adult. So I'm guessing she thought that was the norm, and I can't even. She said she just started talking to her mom about it after she went through therapy. And she's not 19 years old. This a grown woman. You feel me? And that just lets you know the therapy caused her to have a different eyesight into what was really happening because she might have been thinking that nothing was wrong. You see what I mean? So that just lifts some of the weight off of you. You weren't even healthy yourself, clearly, going into these situations, or you would have moved differently.
Yeah.
So,
considering I was getting my own too, it wasn't like I needed them. I had my own, but I just wanted that too. Not the person, but what you could do. And I'm not, like I said, the last 21 years I've been married to this one, Kato, and it's not like that. He didn't have nothing. And I was like, oh, okay, this is good. Because I knew I didn't have to be there if I didn't want to.
This has been a very, very emotional and eye-opening show tonight.
I just hope somebody listens or somebody that knows somebody that will say this is happening to me, just just go. Because nowadays they're killing you. It only takes one good hit and you can kill somebody. Or you'll mess around and kill the abuser and then you go to jail.
Yep. And Sister Alyssa, thank you. She giving us more feedback on her situation because you know her dad passed.
Yeah.
And you know they clearly when he passed, I think they had a good relationship. She said first I was blaming my dad, but as I got older and got into therapy, this therapy word seemed it just keep coming.
Yeah.
She said, and I got into therapy, I realized my mother was much to blame for staying 22 years.
True.
You know, and that's real right there. You took it, and you know, it's just one of them things.
That's why I said here it is 40 some years later. I don't blame them too, because I'm driving. They're not. But I don't blame them because I let them do what they were doing. They were beating themselves. The first one was jealous of himself and me, so he was hitting me, but he actually was hitting himself. He had a difficult childhood. The second one, same thing. He had a difficult one. So they weren't hitting me. I was just there, and they knew they could. The person ain't gonna do no more to you than you let them. If I had left, they wouldn't have came after me. But I always thought that they would.
And just for some takeaways for the people that are watching or will see this, what do you say to the ladies that say they don't have any way out? Do you think that they're lying and making excuses, or do you think there are really women that feel like they don't have a way out? That's a good question.
Yeah, but it's hard because some people don't. They don't have anywhere to go. That man is their father, their lover, their husband or boyfriend. That's all they got. And but then some like me, I did have somewhere places to go. I could have went back home, but I didn't want to because that means everybody would have known. Or it didn't work out. Now I don't care. You know, who whatever do something, I'm gone.
And you know, I look at a lot of women and I'm like, you don't have anywhere to go. No family, no shelter, no nothing. It's nowhere for you to go. And that just it makes me wonder, do you really want to go?
Well, like I said, it's the individual. Some of them don't want it. They know they think it end. Some women do think that it stopped. Well, he ain't gonna do it no more. He said it, and then the next day they do it again.
Yeah, but I'm not quick to judge that. You know what I mean? Because you really don't know what's going on inside a person.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't, and you really don't know. But I will say it has always boggled my mind. Why do you stay when you getting your ass beat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How are you cooking? I mean, I see women making a plate with a black eye
and sleeping with them
and
in the same time. I did that. You sleep with them when it's over because you think it's gonna make it better. They ain't gonna mess with you no more for that day. So that's what you was really they was using you.
Well, ladies, you know it's been really, and when I tell you, sis, it has been tonight been real, and I just want to, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and I'm telling you, it takes so much to come on. That is bold and courageous for you to come on and share your story to the degree that you did tonight, and I'm sure it helped many. And it will, because this show, you know, we're gonna play this on so many platforms. You guys, if you guys want to catch this show again or refer to other people, you can catch it on Rosharon Ingram on YouTube, and you can also check on my TikTok channel, Ro Ingram. But if anybody is watching and you are in a domestic situation, you feel like there is no way out, I do want to let you know that there is always a way out. You know, you may need to make a plan. You might not be able to run out that door today. But my prayer for you is that you'll start rolling in the right direction and that God will give you the courage you need to get you. And if there's kids involved, get you guys out of that situation. And remember, ladies, it's not just about your life, it's about these kids' lives. And you see, this stuff trickles down, you know, generations 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, you know. This is your legacy. This is your story. So there you are, you guys. I see you right here next week, Monday at 7, for another episode of Let's Talk with Ro. It's been real. Woo! Tonight was one. Woo! Man.